You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 151.1, our daily report for all things Central Indiana and some national sports news. On the Friday edition of the daily report, we have results from our girls wrestling state finals, a full slate of boys basketball, and some girls basketball games as well. IU looking to rebound against Ohio State in a Big Ten game on Friday night, and a look ahead to a big day in local and national sports on Saturday.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you've chosen to listen to the Central Indiana Sports Report, you've picked a good one. Today is January 17th, 2025. It's a Friday. So it's another day for the Central Indiana Sports Report. I am your host, Greg Mengelt, and I love Central Indiana sports. Coming to you today from headquarters in Jeffersonville, back with producer Susie. She, of course, is in the control room. Welcome to our daily report with Friday's action from Central Indiana. It's a rare night that it won't start with boys basketball during basketball season, but Friday night was all about the first ever IHSAA girls wrestling state finals in Indianapolis, and man, did they put on a show. We do have a full slate of boys basketball results from Friday and a few girls games plus IU basketball at Ohio State, and a look ahead to Saturday's big events in Central Indiana and nationally. I look at it this way. The daily report is for sports fans in Central Indiana who love all sports, but Central Indiana sports in particular. That's who this podcast is for. Before I tell you about a couple of local girls wrestling state champions, please go like, subscribe, or follow us on your favorite podcasting platform so you don't miss a single episode. Don't forget, we are now on YouTube, so go check us out over there. Just search Central Indiana Sports Report. Columbus East won the first ever official IHSAA Girls Wrestling State Championship Friday at the State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis. The Olympians scored 89 points. That was 24 points more than Merrillville in second. Franklin was third, Whiteland fourth, Garrett fifth, and Jay County finished sixth. Hamilton Heights finished 11th as a team and boasted one of the most impressive performances of the entire finals. Junior Kendall Moe finished her season unbeaten and pinned Daleville's unbeaten Kinley Keffer in 20 seconds to claim the 105-pound state championship. Moe's teammate senior Zoe Pugh finished fourth in the state at 120 pounds. Pendleton Heights sophomore Maddie Marsh improved to 57-0 in her career and her third straight state championship going back to middle school by edging previously unbeaten Silver Creek junior Ava Allen 10-7 in the championship match at 140 pounds. Rossville freshman Marissa Nicholas was state runner-up at 115. Jay County's Mallory Winter is the 170-pound champion and finished her senior year unbeaten. We will have a complete state finals recap with all of the local wrestlers, the semifinals, the championship results from every weight class. Plus, I talked to a few wrestlers, more than a few, and I talked to a few media members, so it's going to be a good one. Hopefully, that will be Saturday, Sunday at the latest. Once more, and in conclusion, subscribe so you don't miss it. To the Central Indiana boys basketball scoreboard, in the CIC, Blackford now has to be considered a serious contender after 54-52 win over Mississinawa on Friday in Hartford City. In the Central Indiana Sports Report game of the night, The Bruins are now 7-5 overall and 4-0 in CIC play. They were led by 21 points from Gage Baker, 18 points and 7 rebounds from Mason Kitterman, and 13 points, 4 assists, and 3 steals from freshman Mari Leggett. Mississinawa drops to 5-6 overall and 1-2 in the CIC. Oak Hill avenged an earlier loss to Eastbrook in the Grant 4 tournament with a 53-37 CIC victory on Friday night. Despite being ill, sophomore Jace Tonigal had 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. The Golden Eagles are now 3-0, keeping pace with Blackford in the conference race. After a slow start, Franklin scored 32 points in the fourth quarter in a 63-36 conference win over Madison Grant. The Eagles remain alive, needing some help, of course, in the CIC at 2-1. Brady Carmack had 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists for the Eagles. Brock Barnhart led the Argyles with 12 points. Kyle Smedley reported that the Argyles had 28 turnovers in the loss. Alexandria beat Elwood for the second time in a week, 62-35, almost the identical score as last Friday in the Madison County tournament. Last time was 62-37, this time 62-35. It's the Tigers' fourth win of the year. In the Hoosier Conference, Landon Spidell's putback with 2 seconds left gave Tipton its seventh straight win, 50-48 at Northwestern on Friday. Grady Carpenter had 20.6 assists and 5 rebounds for the Class 2A number 12 Blue Devils. Hamilton Heights won its fourth game in a row in a close one, 63-59 at Lapel. Gavin Saunders had a game-high 28 points, knocking down 5 of his 7 three-point attempts. Bodie Judge had 19 points for Lapel. Benton Central got a 57-44 Hoosier Conference win at Central Catholic, making West Lafayette and Twin Lakes the last unbeaten teams in the Hoosier Conference West Division. Benton Central senior Hunter Sisson scored 28 points and went over 1,000 for his career in the win. West Lafayette beat Rensselaer Central 63-42. 6'10 senior center Kevo St. Hilaire had 16 points and 15 rebounds to lead the 10-3 Red Devils. McCutcheon beat Logansport 68-41, and Twin Lakes topped Kankakee Valley 65-57 in a couple of non-conference games. In the Delaware County Championship, Camden Bell scored 22 points and had 9 rebounds in Wapahani's 80-35 win over Daleville. In the first semifinal of the Delaware County Championships, the 2A number 1 Raiders are 11-0 and will face Yorktown, which beat Cowan 65-25 in Friday's second semifinal. Jabin Barnes led Yorktown with 16 points. In the North Central Conference, 6th-ranked Anderson earned a big NCC road win Friday, 63-60 at Jeff. It's the 8th win in a row for the Indians and ended an 8-game winning streak for the Broncos. Muncie Central got its first conference win. It was a big one, 55-43 over Richmond at the Fieldhouse. Landon Wells led the Bearcats with 15 points, and Jackson Johnson added 13. Harrison won its 4th game in a row and ended Kokomo's 5-game winning streak with a 70-59 win at Memorial Gym. Rare poor shooting night for the Wildcats. They shot just 34.7%, 26.9% in the second half when they were outscored 41-26. Junior Corbin Hamill went 8 for 10 at the foul line and led Kokomo with 14 points before fouling out. Carmel dominated the first half in a 57-39 win at Marion. Logan Barnes and Tim Jones scored 10 points apiece to lead the Giants. In the Hoosier Heritage Conference, New Pal won for the 9th time in its last 10 games, 59-51 over Pendleton Heights. Future Indiana All-Star Julius Geezy scored 23 for the 3A number 7 Dragons. Cooper Sims had 20 to lead the Arabians. Greenfield Central remains the only Hoosier Heritage unbeaten after a 72-50 win over Newcastle. The third-ranked Cougars are now 4-0 in conference, a game ahead of New Pal and Mount Vernon, and a game and a half ahead of Shelbyville. Shelbyville beat Greensburg 77-56 in a non-conference game to improve to 11-3, already equaling last year's win total. And number 11, Avon crushed Mount Vernon 76-46 in another non-conference game. In the Hoosier Heartland, Eastern improved to 4-5 with a 53-43 win over Delphi. Colton Lindsay scored 22 for the Comets. Rossville cruised past Tri-Central 70-44. 2A number 10 Taylor rebounded from its first loss of the season with a 56-33 win at Clinton Central, led by 23 points from Dre McClatchy. And the big one, Class A number 11 Clinton Prairie handed Class A number 6 Clinton Prairie just its second loss of the season, surprisingly easy, 67-47. Jake McGraw scored 33 for the Gophers. That one is a little eye-opening. In the Mid-Eastern Conference, Class A number 15 Monroe Central got a big MEAC win, 54-53 over Shenandoah Friday. The Bears are now tied atop the conference standings at 3-0 with Eastern Hancock, which beat Union County 68-26. Wapahani is a half game back, and Blue River beat Randolph Southern 57-41. In the Three Rivers Conference, Rochester won for the fifth time in 6 games, 58-55 over Cass. Southwood beat Whitco 50-39, and 2A number 7 Manchester is 12-1 and atop the Three Rivers Conference standings after a 65-18 victory over winless Wabash. Josiah Ball scored 36 points, and Fuddy Kyle had 17 points and 18 rebounds, and Maconaquah's 85-57 win over Peru. Maconaquah is 7-2, 3-0 in the conference, a half game behind the Squires. And in the Pioneer Conference, University kept Burris winless with an 81-30 victory. Some other games just outside our coverage area. 4A number 16 Noblesville beat Zionsville 48-45 in overtime. The Eagles had 2 shots to tie it in the final seconds of overtime. 4A number 4 Westfield beat rival Hamilton Southeastern 62-36 and is now 9-1. The Rocks outscored the Royals 36-16 in the second half. Number 1 Fishers is 13-0 after a 77-60 win over Brownsburg. Jason Gardner Jr. and Millen McCartney scored 13 apiece for Fishers. Blaine Freiberger scored the game winner in Huntington North's 66-64 win over Columbia City. Greenwood and Center Grove advanced to the Johnson County Championship game. Both won close ones on Friday. Greenwood beat Whiteland 52-50, and Center Grove got past Greenwood Christian 42-39. In the Marion County Championships, number 7 Ben Davis beat number 5 Lawrence North 59-55, and North Central got past Pike to set up Saturday's Marion County Championship game. We will have a weekend recap podcast, which will also include a couple of Thursday games and a weekend review coming up in the next couple of days. Please look for those. Try to talk to a few local head coaches for those. If you're subscribed, it'll just pop right up, so you can't possibly miss it. We will also have, of course, the weekend recap and weekend review for girls basketball. Speaking of girls basketball, Madison County champion Pendleton Heights is now going for a Hoosier Heritage Conference championship. The Arabians won their 7th consecutive game and moved to 5-1 in the Hoosier Heritage with a 75-38 win over New Pal. Like Alexandria's boys, Alexandria's girls beat Elwood for the second time in a week by almost the exact same score. Last time it was 66-27, this time 63-26. The 2A number 3 Tigers are now 19-1 and will spend the rest of their regular season pursuing a CIC championship. They will be CIC champions if they win their final 3 regular season games. Elwood is 11-6. Mississinawa won for the 4th time in its last 6 games, 52-25 over Blackford. Rossville is 12-5 overall and 6-1 in the Hoosier Heartland after a 51-35 win over Tri Central. It's the 7th straight loss for Tri Central. Class A number 14 Clinton Central is 14-4 after beating Taylor 59-32 for its 7th consecutive victory. And in the Pioneer Crossover Championships, University is the Pioneer champion after a 34-28 win over Southridge in the game between the North Division champion and the South Division champion. Park Tudor beat Anderson Prep 68-19 for 3rd place. Greenwood Christian finished 5th with a 55-33 win over Burris. And Liberty Christian finished 7th by beating Bethesda Christian 48-21. Other scores just outside of our coverage area: number 1 Hamilton Southeastern beat a 14-win Westfield team 51-17. Number 9 Noblesville won its 11th in a row 54-35. Number 7 Brownsburg is 15-4 after beating Fishers 56-29. Greenfield Central beat Newcastle 65-30 in a Hoosier Heritage Conference game, and Clinton Prairie upset Carroll 51-46 in a Hoosier Heartland game. Great comeback win for the Indiana Hoosiers in Columbus on Friday. A few nights after being embarrassed at home by Illinois, Luke Goody scored 23 points and hit a key three-pointer in overtime in the win. Omar Ballo added 21 points, and Kanan Carlisle scored 13 off the Hoosier bench. Ohio State is 10-8. The Buckeyes got 22 points from John Mobley Jr. Coming up on Saturday around the area and in national sports, some highlights: the Delaware County Championship between Wapahani and Yorktown. Highlights the boys basketball schedule. Tip-off is scheduled for 8. A couple of other big games: 10-1 Taylor is at 9-4 Western. Number 6 Anderson hosts 8-5 Hamilton Southeastern. And Kokomo is at 6-2 Mechaniqua. Those games are all 6 o'clock JV start with the varsity to follow. Some girls basketball games: Oak Hill looks to go 6-0 in the CIC when it goes to Eastbrook. Hamilton Heights is at Tipton at 1:30. Frankton visits Madison Grant at 7:30. And it will be Wapahani versus Delta for the Delaware County Championship at 6 at Delta. That was a 2-point game the first time they played. Should be a great one. Delta looking to beat 2 teams in a row that beat them earlier. That's a sign of a very well-coached team. In boys wrestling, the CIC will be held at Mississinawa, the Hoosier Conference at Western, and the Hoosier Heritage at Yorktown, and the North Central Conference at Kokomo. In swimming, the Hoosier Conference will be held at Purdue with West Lafayette hosting, and the Three Rivers Conference will be swum at Mechaniqua. Elwood, Frankton, and Blackford are at an invitational at Centerville. We hope to have all those results for you on Sunday's Daily Report, and then we'll have some highlights in our basketball, wrestling, and swimming reports coming up in the next few days. Please look for those. The NFL playoffs resume with Houston at Kansas City at 4:30 on ABC and ESPN, and Washington at Detroit at 8 on Fox. Go Lions. The Pacers host Philadelphia at 7 o'clock. Ben Mathurin is expected to return from his 1-game suspension. Should have been an automatic 5 for touching an official, in my opinion. The Pacers are 23-19, 5th in the Eastern Conference standings, a game behind ascending Milwaukee for 4th. They've won 7 of their last 8 games and are 12-4 in their last 16. The Sixers are 15-24, 11th in the East, and have lost their last 4 and are 2-7 in their last 9. Purdue's 17th ranked men's basketball team will have a big one on Saturday at 13th ranked Oregon. That game is on NBC at 3 o'clock. The Boilermakers are 14-4 overall and 6-1 in the Big Ten after winning their last 6 games, including a 69-58 win over Washington on Wednesday. The Ducks are 15-2 overall, 4-2 in the Big Ten, and have won 3 in a row, including a thrilling 82-81 win over Penn State on Sunday. Some more local college basketball games. Ball State hosts Toledo at 1. Anderson welcomes Earlham at 2. Taylor hosts Bethel at 3. Indiana Wesleyan is at Marion at 3. IUK hosts IU East at 3. All of the men's games follow women's games between the same opponents, except the IUK men precede the IUK women. The MAC leading Ball State women host 9-8 Akron at 11:30 a.m. That one can be seen on ESPN Plus. The Cardinals are now 5-0 in the MAC, a game ahead of Western Michigan, and 2 games ahead of a 5-way tie for third. The 2-0 Indy Ignite professional women's volleyball team has its first road game in franchise history after going 2-0 at home in their first 2 games ever. The game is at 7 and can be seen on CBS Sportsnet. USA Soccer faces Venezuela in an international friendly at 3. That game can be seen on TNT or the Peacock app. And now you know everything we know about Central Indiana sports. Thanks for listening. We love that you do. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.